Most people believe their financial problem is income. They assume that if they could just earn a little more money, everything in their financial life would finally begin to work the way it should. The paycheck would grow, the stress would fade, and the bank account would finally begin moving in the right direction. This belief is so common that it almost feels obvious, yet something strange happens when people actually get that raise. The paycheck grows, the lifestyle quietly grows with it, and a few months later the bank balance still feels wrong. The same quiet question returns again at the end of the month. Where did all the money go? There was no luxury vacation, no giant purchase, no dramatic financial disaster. Just a slow, uncomfortable realization that money arrived and then somehow disappeared. Here is the truth almost nobody talks about. For most people, the real financial problem is not income. It is visibility. Your money is not vanishing. It is escaping through dozens of small decisions that never get examined. Those decisions feel harmless in the moment because they are small, convenient, and emotionally invisible. But together they quietly shape your financial future. And the difference between people who slowly build wealth and people who constantly feel behind usually comes down to one simple habit almost nobody practices: a 30-minute money review once a month. Not a complicated spreadsheet, not a secret investment strategy, just one honest look at what actually happened to your money. Skip this ritual for a year and you might lose thousands without understanding why. Skip it for 10 years, and the gap between you and people who practice it becomes enormous. The number that changes how you see money. Before we go further, consider one number that explains why this conversation matters. Surveys in multiple countries consistently show that a large portion of working adults say they live paycheck to paycheck. What surprises many people is that this group includes individuals earning stable, middle-class incomes. In other words, financial stress is not limited to people earning very little money. Even people earning comfortable salaries often feel financially stuck. That reveals something important. The biggest financial difference between people is rarely just how much money they earn. It is how clearly they see where their money actually goes. A moment millions of people experience. Imagine a moment that probably feels familiar. It is late at night. You open your banking app before going to sleep. You expected maybe $800 left before the next paycheck. Instead, you see $236. You pause. You scroll through recent transactions: groceries, gas, coffee, food delivery one night when you were tired, a couple of online purchases. Nothing extreme, nothing irresponsible. Yet somehow the number in the account tells a completely different story. That moment of confusion is incredibly common. It is also the moment when most people close the app and promise themselves they will think about money later. But later rarely comes. Why small expenses trick your brain? Behavioral economists have studied this pattern for decades. Human brains are extremely sensitive to large expenses. A $2,000 purchase triggers immediate attention and caution. But the brain processes small, repeated transactions very differently. $15 here, $20 there, another small charge tomorrow. Individually, those moments feel insignificant. Psychologists sometimes refer to this phenomenon as transaction blindness. When spending appears in small, scattered moments, the emotional alarm system never activates. Yet when those small decisions accumulate across weeks, they can quietly redirect thousands of dollars every year. Without deliberate review, those patterns simply continue month after month. Think about the last 30 days. Pause for a second and think about the last 30 days of your life. Not the big purchases. Think about the tiny ones: coffee, delivery, digital subscriptions, streaming services, quick online orders. Now imagine every one of those decisions recorded on a timeline. Most people never see that timeline clearly. When they finally do, the pattern can be shocking. Not because they are reckless, but because the pattern was invisible until someone looked directly at it. The 30-minute money reset. The simplest way to interrupt this cycle is something many financial planners call a monthly money reset. Once each month, ideally during the first week, you schedule 30 minutes to examine your financial life. Not casually, not when you remember. You schedule it like a meeting. During that short session, you perform a few simple steps that dramatically improve financial awareness. The goal is not perfection, The goal is clarity. Clarity leads to control. Control leads to progress, and progress eventually leads to wealth. Step 1. See your complete financial scoreboard. Start by gathering every financial account connected to your life. Checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, investment accounts, retirement accounts, student loans, car loans, mortgages. Anywhere money exists or debt exists, most people have never seen all these numbers in one place at the same time. They know fragments of the story, but not the whole picture. Once everything is visible, calculate one number. Add everything you own. Subtract everything you owe. The result is your net worth. Net worth is the most honest scoreboard in personal finance. Income can rise while net worth stays flat. Lifestyle can look impressive while debt quietly grows. But net worth tells the truth about your financial direction. Tracking that number every month answers a powerful question. Are you moving forward or backward? If the number rises, something you are doing is working. If it falls, something needs attention. Without this measurement, people can drift financially for years without realizing progress never happened. Step 2. Follow every dollar. Next, review the previous month's transactions. Every dollar that entered your life. Every dollar that left. This step sounds tedious, but if you do it monthly, it usually takes less than 20 minutes. Open your bank statements and categorize spending: housing, food, transportation, subscriptions, entertainment, shopping, utilities. You are not judging yourself. You are observing patterns, and those patterns often reveal surprising truths. Someone might believe they rarely eat out until the numbers show restaurant spending reached $380 last month. That is more than $4,000 a year. Another person might discover 5 subscription services renewing automatically, even though only one is actually used. Individually, each charge feels small. Together, they quietly drain hundreds of dollars every year. The moment spending becomes visible, it becomes manageable. The invisible trade. Here is a calculation most people never perform. Every recurring expense is quietly making a trade for you. A $120 monthly habit is not just $120. It is $1,440 every year. Invested consistently, that difference could grow dramatically over time. That does not mean every expense should disappear. Some purchases are worth it, but the trade should be intentional. Without awareness, the decision happens automatically. The monthly reset gives you the power to choose. A personal experience that changed my thinking. I learned this lesson the uncomfortable way. There was a period when my own spending habits were heavily influenced by credit cards. At the time, I believed using a credit card was simply convenient. If I needed to buy something, but did not have enough cash in that exact moment, the card made everything easy. The interest rate sounded small, and the benefits sounded attractive. Cashback, travel points, promotions. That was exactly how the bank representative explained it when I opened the card. Everything sounded efficient and smart. Because of that, I slowly became less careful about tracking my spending. Using the card was so simple that purchases barely felt real. Swipe, tap, done. But about a year later, when I finally sat down and carefully reviewed my finances, I discovered something uncomfortable. My spending had quietly increased far more than I realized. The convenience of the card had made spending feel invisible. That experience was one of the moments that convinced me how powerful regular financial reviews can be. Step 3. Align your plan with reality. Once spending patterns are visible, compare them with your financial plan. A budget is not punishment. It is simply a plan that tells your money where to go before it disappears. Maybe you expected restaurant spending to stay around $300, but the real number was $420. Now you have 2 options: adjust the plan or adjust the behavior. Without regular reviews, people often believe they are following a plan that no longer matches reality. Financially successful households treat budgets as living systems. They change constantly as life changes. Prices rise, schedules shift, unexpected costs appear. The monthly reset keeps your financial strategy aligned with reality instead of fantasy. The 5-year question. Ask yourself one simple question. If your current money habits continue unchanged for the next 5 years, What would your financial life look like? Would savings grow meaningfully? Would debt shrink? Would stress decrease? Most people never ask this question clearly, yet the answer often reveals whether current habits are leading toward security or frustration. Step 4. Increase savings slightly. This is where wealth quietly begins. Ask one small question. Can I increase my savings rate just a little? Not dramatically, just slightly. Maybe you currently save 8% of your income. During the review, you notice spending in one category came in lower than expected. Instead of letting that extra money disappear next month, increase your automatic savings transfer by 1%. 1% feels tiny, but repeated small increases dramatically change your financial trajectory. A simple two-person story. Imagine two people earning the same salary. Both earn $55,000 per year and both begin saving 5%. One performs a monthly financial reset, the other does not. Over time, one gradually increases savings, eliminates unnecessary spending, and invests more consistently. The other simply continues spending without examining patterns. 10 years later, the difference between those two financial lives can be enormous, and the change began with just 30 minutes of attention each month. Why this habit changes how your brain works. Something deeper happens when you repeat this ritual. Your relationship with money changes. Instead of reacting emotionally to purchases, you begin making strategic decisions. Behavioral economists describe several psychological forces influencing spending. Present bias pushes people toward comfort today instead of security tomorrow. Lifestyle creep quietly expands spending as income rises. Automation blindness hides recurring charges behind convenience. The monthly reset interrupts those patterns. Each time you pause and examine your finances, you strengthen intentional decision-making. Over time, that mental habit compounds just like money does. The simple secret. Wealth rarely begins with a dramatic breakthrough. It begins with attention. 30 minutes of attention each month can redirect your entire financial future. So before you close this video, do one thing. Open your calendar and schedule your first monthly money reset. Not someday, not next year, this month. Because the moment you start looking honestly at where your money goes is the moment your money finally starts working for you. Thanks for watching.